It's Friday, 29 November. Look at that. We've almost made it to the end of another month. Welcome to the PDB Afternoon Bulletin. I'm Mike Baker, your eyes and ears on the world stage. Let's get briefed. We'll kick things off with reports that several of Donald Trump's cabinet picks and appointees have been targeted by bomb threats in recent weeks. Now maybe, and it could just be me, but if one party fires up their base by saying the other party is going to end democracy and are fascists and the reincarnation of Hitler, then you probably shouldn't be surprised if some impressionable psychotics or gormless halfwits decide to act on your exhortations. Just a thought. Later in the show, Donald Trump has announced retired U.S. Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg as a special peace envoy to Ukraine. We'll examine General Kellogg's background and what this appointment signals for possible U.S. policy towards Ukraine. But first, our afternoon spotlight. Several of President-elect Trump's most prominent cabinet picks and appointees have been the focus of bomb threats and so-called swatting attacks in recent days, and that's according to Trump's transition team. In total, nearly a dozen nominees and appointees have faced these alarming incidents. Now, among them is Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, nominated as the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Stefanik was en route to her residence in New York when she was informed of a bomb threat against her home. Law enforcement, including New York State Police and K-9 units, trained in explosives detection, swiftly responded and conducted thorough sweeps of the property, ultimately finding no explosive devices. Similarly, Lee Zeldin, the nominee to lead the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, received a pipe bomb threat accompanied by a pro-Palestinian message. Other nominees, such as John Ratcliffe, tapped to head the CIA, and Pete Hegseth, nominated for Secretary of Defense, have also been subjected to similar threats. In addition to the bomb threats, the incidents also included instances of what's known as swatting. Now, if you're not familiar with that, it's where false reports are made to emergency services to provoke a heavy armed response to a target's location. Such actions not only endanger the lives of those targeted, of course, but also divert critical law enforcement resources. The FBI has acknowledged that they are aware of the threats, well, that's nice, and is actively collaborating with local law enforcement agencies to investigate the incidents. In a statement, the FBI said that it takes all potential threats seriously and encourages the public to report any suspicious activities. President-elect Trump's transition team has condemned these threats as, quote, violent and un-American. Spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt expressed gratitude for the swift action of law enforcement in ensuring the safety of those targeted. She reiterated the team's commitment to uniting the nation and ensuring a safe and prosperous future. These alarming incidents underscore the heightened tensions, of course, and potential dangers faced by public officials in today's polarized political climate. They also highlight the importance, of course, of robust security measures and the need for continued vigilance against these forms of political violence. Now, as investigations continue, authorities urge the public to remain alert and report any suspicious activities to law enforcement. The safety of public officials and the integrity of democratic institutions, of course, depend on the collective efforts of both law enforcement and the community to address and prevent such threats. Well, frankly, the best way to address and prevent such threats is probably to identify the perpetrators, arrest them, identify them publicly, and put them through the court system. It's a law and order issue. People need to see that there are serious consequences for this sort of political terrorism, no matter where it comes from. Coming up next, President-elect Trump has selected retired Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg as his special envoy to Ukraine and Russia. We'll explore what this decision means for the ongoing conflict and the potential path to peace. That'll be right after the break. Welcome back to the Afternoon Bulletin. President-elect Trump nominated retired U.S. Army Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg as a special Ukrainian peace envoy to lead negotiations on perhaps finding an end to Russia's war on Ukraine. In a statement posted to Truth Social, Trump said that Kellogg, quote, was with me right from the beginning and will secure peace through strength and make America and the world safe again, end quote. The 80-year-old Kellogg had a long and distinguished military career that began with his commissioning through the ROTC program at Santa Clara University. Over the years, he built a reputation as a capable and decisive leader. Kellogg served in the Vietnam War, where he worked with the 101st Airborne Division and advised the Cambodian Army. He also held key positions in Operation Desert Storm, serving as Chief of Staff for the 82nd Airborne Division. His tenure as Commander of Special Operations Command Europe further cemented his reputation as a strategic thinker. After retiring in 2003, Kellogg transitioned into, there's a surprise, defense contracting and consulting before returning to public service during the Trump administration. He served as Chief of Staff and Executive Secretary of the National Security Council and later as National Security Advisor to Vice President Mike Pence. He even briefly held the role of Acting National Security Advisor following the resignation of Mike Flynn. Kellogg's close ties to Trump's first term suggest that this new appointment isn't just about his military credentials. Frankly, it's about trust and alignment with Trump's foreign policy vision. Now, Kellogg is coming into the position with a proposed plan to achieve peace between Russia and Ukraine. In May, he co-authored a proposal with former Trump aide Fred Fleitz that laid out a roadmap for ending the conflict. The plan calls for military aid to Ukraine to cease unless Kyiv agrees to hold peace negotiations with Russia. It envisions freezing the conflict along its current front lines, which, as they stand currently, would leave Russia in control of approximately 1/5 of Ukrainian territory. So I guess you could argue that seems like a win for Putin. The document outlines a U.S. policy aimed at securing a ceasefire and a negotiated settlement, while it suggests that the U.S. and NATO continue providing weapons to ensure Moscow makes no further advances. It also stipulates that additional military aid be conditional on Ukraine's participation in peace talks. Now, to bring Vladimir Putin to the table, the plan proposes delaying Ukraine's membership in NATO in exchange for security guarantees, so that could be construed as another win for Putin. Additionally, the plan acknowledges that Ukraine may face a long road to regaining all its occupied territories. Well, there's a statement of the obvious, and suggests that a partial lifting of sanctions on Russia could incentivize the Kremlin toward peace. Okay, well, seems like what we could describe as another win for Putin. I'm seeing a trend here. The proposed plan or approach to achieving a settlement underscores Kellogg's focus on finding a resolution, even if it means making difficult concessions, meaning apparently concessions to Putin. Once considered a Ukraine hawk who advocated for sending U.S. fighter jets to Kyiv, Kellogg's pivot to diplomacy marks a significant evolution in his stance. His appointment raises critical questions. Will the plan gain traction, and how will it shape the future of U.S. policy in Eastern Europe? Now, frankly, it's likely the proposed concessions to Putin will not be palatable to the EU, the rest of NATO, or the Ukrainian government, meaning there's a decent chance that the incoming U.S. administration will find itself at odds with their allies. And that, my friends, is the PDB Afternoon Bulletin for Friday, 29 November. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me at pdb@thefirsttv.com. Now, you may have noticed that today, is Friday, the end of another week, which for tens of millions of people means one thing. Another episode of our extended weekend show, the PDB Situation Report, is ready to hit the airwaves. Every Friday evening at 10 p.m. on the First TV, and of course on our YouTube channel at President's Daily Brief, not to mention all the podcast platforms where you get your podcast stuff. This weekend's guests include the terrific retired Lieutenant Colonel John Mills and the always insightful Gordon Chang. We're talking Chinese regime espionage efforts, the incoming U.S. administration's likely policies toward China, potential peace negotiations for the Russia-Ukraine war, and other important insights that can make you sound very well informed around the office water cooler. I'm Mike Baker, and I'll be back over the weekend with the PDB Situation Report. Until then, stay informed, stay safe, stay cool.